Lyra stood on the cold metal floor, her wrists locked in glowing cuffs that hummed softly. She was only 16, small compared to the towering guards around her. But she did not shake. She did not cry. She only looked straight ahead as they pushed her toward the large doors of the ceremonial chamber. Everyone expected fear. Everyone expected begging. But Lyra stayed calm, almost too calm for someone chosen as a sacrifice. The Galactic Council had taken her 3 days ago. They said humans were becoming too bold, too stubborn, too difficult to control. So they chose a symbolic offering to remind others who held power. Lyra had been chosen because she was young, because people would talk, and because the council wanted humans to surrender without a fight. They believed fear would be enough. The doors opened with a deep metallic groan. Bright lights hit her eyes. The arena inside was huge, shaped like a giant circle with rows of seats rising high into darkness. Thousands of aliens watched from above. Some whispered. Some laughed. Some waited with cold silence. All of them believed they already knew how this would end. In the center of the chamber stood a massive gate made of dark, reinforced steel. Behind it something moved. The ground vibrated softly. A hot breath escaped through the gaps. It was the council's dragon beast, Vraction, a creature they used to remind everyone of their power. It was big enough to crush a ship engine, strong enough to break stone with one claw, and feared across 14 star systems. Victims usually collapsed from fear long before the beast approached. But Lyra did not collapse. The guards stared at her with confusion as they unlocked her cuffs and pushed her forward. She stepped into the arena alone. Her steps were slow but steady. Her eyes did not leave the steel gate. The council members watched from their high platform, waiting for her to scream or run. They saw nothing like that. The gate began to rise with a loud rattle. Hot air burst out, washing over her face. The beast stepped forward with thunder-like footsteps. Its scales shimmered dark blue. Its wings scraped the air. Its eyes glowed like molten gold, sharp and dangerous. Every creature in the arena leaned back in fear. Lyra stood still. When Vraction roared, the sound shook the entire chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The roar was meant to break her spirit instantly. Instead, she blinked once and whispered something so quiet only she could hear it. The beast stopped mid-step. The audience gasped. No one had ever seen Vraction pause for a victim. Not once in 20 years. The guards stared with wide eyes. The council shifted in surprise. The beast tilted its massive head as if confused. It sniffed the air, then looked directly at Lyra, as if searching for something it thought should be there. Lyra's heart beat fast, but she did not run. She slowly lifted her hand. It was a small gesture, soft and brave at the same time. Everyone went silent. They expected the beast to attack instantly. They expected blood like every sacrifice before. But Vraction leaned forward and sniffed her hand again. The beast's breath was hot, and its teeth were sharp enough to slice metal. Yet it did not bite. It simply lowered its head a little, almost as if it was curious. The entire arena stared in shock. Even Lyra felt surprise inside her chest, but something deeper pushed her to stay calm. Something inside the beast's golden eyes did not feel violent to her. It felt lonely. It felt tired. The guards whispered nervously. Why isn't it attacking? What is she doing? Pull her back before something goes wrong. But Lyra did not move away and the beast did not strike. The council speaker stood and shouted an order. Vraction roared again, louder, angrier. But Lyra somehow understood the sound was not meant for her. It was meant for the ones controlling him. She took a small step closer. The ground was warm from the beast's breath. Her hand trembled, but she placed it on the creature's snout. The arena froze. She felt something then, like a deep vibration under her skin, like a silent voice trying to reach her. It wasn't words. It was emotion. The beast's pain. Its confusion. Its years of captivity. Its anger at being used again and again. She saw all of it in one moment, not with her eyes but through feeling alone. And she knew it saw something in her too, calm, kindness and no fear. The council was no longer calm. They whispered to each other in panic. No human was supposed to survive this long. No creature was supposed to disobey them. But the beast had already broken the rule. Lyra lowered her hand slowly. The beast stayed still, watching her, waiting for her next move instead of waiting for orders. The Galactic Council did not expect this. The crowd did not expect this. Even Lyra had not expected this. But one thing became clear in that moment. The sacrifice was not following the council's plan. And for the first time in her life, Lyra felt something strange and powerful rise inside her. A quiet certainty that this moment was the start of something much bigger than fear, much bigger than the council and much bigger than she ever imagined. Lyra stood in the arena, her hand still resting on the dragon beast's scales. Vrakshin breathed slowly now, no longer roaring, no longer fighting. The audience stared like they were seeing an impossible dream. No creature had ever calmed Vrakshin. No creature had ever touched him without being torn apart. Yet here stood a human girl, small and quiet, touching the monster everyone feared. The guards took a step forward, unsure if they should interfere. The council leader raised his hand, stopping them. He wanted to see what would happen. His eyes narrowed as he watched Lyra, annoyed that the creature wasn't obeying. Vrakshin lowered his head even more, letting Lyra stand close without danger. She felt the heat of his breath on her skin. Every instinct in her body told her to run, but something deeper told her to stay. She sensed that the beast wasn't trying to hurt her. He was trying to understand her. Lyra spoke softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." Of course, she knew the beast couldn't understand her words the way humans did. But he understood her tone. He understood her calm. He understood her courage. Vrakshin blinked slowly, a gesture that looked almost gentle. High above, the council chamber filled with murmurs. This is impossible. The beast would never obey a human. She must be hiding something. But Lyra hid nothing. She was only a girl who refused to fear what everyone else feared. Vrakshin finally moved, but not to attack. He took a step back and sat on the ground, his wings folding behind him. Dust rose around him. The entire arena gasped. Even the guards tightened their grips on their weapons. Lyra tilted her head. "You're tired," she whispered. The beast made a low sound, not a growl but something like agreement. His golden eyes watched her with a strange softness, like he had been waiting for someone who could see the truth beneath his violent reputation. For years, Vrakshin had been treated like a weapon. He was forced to kill, forced to terrify crowds, forced to obey the council. Pain was the only thing he knew. No one had ever stood before him without fear or hatred. Until now. Lyra slowly walked around him, her fingertips brushing his warm scales. The beast stayed still, almost protective of her movement. The lights in the arena dimmed slightly as the beast's energy settled. The moment felt calm, peaceful, even though thousands of aliens watched in shock. A guard shouted from above, "Step away from the creature." Lyra ignored him. She wasn't being rebellious. She simply felt that moving away would break something fragile between her and Vrakshin. Something important. The council leader grew impatient. "This is no longer a demonstration," he snapped. "The beast must finish the sacrifice." His voice echoed across the chamber. The command hit Vrakshin like a blast. The beast shuddered, his eyes glowing brighter. His claws dug into the ground as the control implant behind his ear activated. He roared with pain, forced to obey the order. The roar shook the arena. Dust rained from the ceiling. But the roar was different this time. It wasn't directed at Lyra. It was directed at the council. The beast fought the command. His wings twitched violently. His head jerked side to side as he tried to resist. Lyra's heart raced, but she stepped closer and placed her hand on his snout again. "Stop, please," she whispered. The beast stopped shaking. His breathing slowed. The glow in his eyes dimmed as he focused on her voice instead of the implanted command. Lyra felt his pain like a shock inside her chest. She closed her eyes, trying to calm him with her presence alone. The council leader slammed his hand on the railing. "Increase the control signal." Technicians hurried to obey. The implant flashed brighter. Vrakshin roared again, his body shaking uncontrollably. He lowered his head to the ground, not out of attack but because of the unbearable pain. Lyra's eyes widened with fear, not of the beast but for him. "No, don't hurt him," she cried. She ran to the side of his face, her hands searching for the source of the pain. She found the glowing implant, a small metal disc pressed into the beast's skin. Without thinking, she placed both hands on it. Energy raced through her palms. She gasped as the implant sparked. She didn't know how it worked, she didn't know if she could stop it, but she knew she had to try. Vrakshin growled, but he didn't pull away. He trusted her. A loud crack echoed through the arena. The implant broke in half. The glow vanished. The pain stopped instantly. Vrakshin lifted his head in shock. The council members stood up at once, shouting orders. Guards rushed forward. Chaos filled the arena. But Vrakshin moved before anyone else. He stepped in front of Lyra, placing his massive body between her and the armed guards. He spread his wings wide, forming a protective wall around her. No one dared to get close. Lyra looked up, stunned. "You're protecting me?" The beast growled softly as if answering yes. In that moment, it became clear to everyone watching. The human girl did not fear the beast. And now the beast did not fear the girl. They stood together, completely changing the meaning of the sacrifice. And the council had no idea how to stop what was coming next. The arena fell into complete silence. Dust drifted in the air, floating like tiny sparks around the massive wings of Vrakshan. The beast stood in front of Lyra, shielding her from the armed guards. His golden eyes glowed with something no one in the galaxy had ever seen from him before: calm, steady focus. Not fury. Not hunger. Protection. The guards hesitated. They had weapons powerful enough to stun large creatures, but none of them wanted to be the first to attack the council's most dangerous beast, especially now that it had broken free of control. Their hands shook as they aimed their rifles. The council leader shouted, "Fire! That human girl has corrupted it. Fire before it escapes." But no one moved. The moment felt too unreal, too fragile. They feared that a single shot might unleash something far worse than the beast had ever shown. Lyra stood behind Vrakshan, trembling but trying to stay steady. She placed her hand against the beast's leg. She could feel a faint vibration beneath the scales, like a silent heartbeat made of thunder. He wasn't calm, he was ready to defend her with his life. She didn't know why this enormous creature cared, but she understood one thing. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He only wanted to stop the pain. Vrakshan lifted his head high, gazing at the council high seats. His wings flexed slowly, sending a gust of cold wind through the arena. The movement wasn't a threat, but it was a warning. A young guard, braver than the rest, took a shaky step forward. His finger hovered over the trigger. Lyra stepped out from behind Vrakshan before anyone could stop her. "Don't," she cried. The guard froze, stunned. No one ever stepped between a weapon and Vrakshan. No one was foolish enough to try. The council leader slammed his fist on the rail. "Take her down if you must. She is interfering with council order." But Vrakshan reacted before any guard could. His long tail swept across the sand with a deep rumble, drawing a line in front of Lyra. "A boundary. A promise. Cross this line and you face me." Gasps spread across the arena. No beast, no creature, no trained soldier had ever shown such intelligent defiance. Vrakshan wasn't acting like a weapon anymore. He was making choices. Lyra looked up at him. "You're fighting for me?" The beast lowered his head slightly as if acknowledging her words. Then Lyra felt it, something strange like a pulse of emotion not her own. Sadness. Confusion. Loneliness. And beneath it, a small spark of hope. She didn't understand how she felt these things, but she knew they came from him. The council leader shouted again, "Override the gates. Release the shock drones." Large metal doors opened high above. The hum of machines echoed in the massive chamber. Dozens of spherical drones floated out, each glowing with electric coils. They surrounded the arena like a swarm of angry insects. The crowd backed away, unsure of what was about to happen. The drones aimed at Vrakshan, charging with bright blue sparks. Lyra stared at them with wide eyes. "They're going to hurt you." Vrakshan growled softly. She felt the ground tremble under her feet. The first drone fired. A bolt of electricity shot toward the beast in a crackling arc. Vrakshan reacted instantly, shielding Lyra with one wing. The bolt hit his scales, sending a ripple of light across them. The audience gasped again, not because he was hurt but because he didn't fall. He took the hit without fear. Another bolt came. Then another. The drones fired one after another, electricity filling the air with sharp blue flashes. Vrakshan turned his body, absorbing the strikes, refusing to expose Lyra even for a second. Lyra held onto his scales. "You don't have to protect me like this." The beast looked down at her. For a moment, the whole world seemed to go quiet. She felt another wave of emotion, clearer this time. A single idea forming from the silent connection between them. "I will not lose you." The drones charged for a final, powerful blast. Vrakshan spread his wings wide. The arena wind shifted as if the air itself was preparing to move. His chest glowed faintly with inner fire, something ancient, something dangerous. Lyra stepped back, sensing something overwhelming building inside him. The drones fired together. And Vrakshan roared. The sound was not like a normal roar. It shook the air like a storm collapsing. A pulse of shimmering energy burst from his wings, spreading across the arena like a wave of heat. It hit the drones at once. Every drone exploded in a pop of sparks. The arena gasped. The guards stepped back. The council leader stared with pure shock. Vrakshan had never done that before. It wasn't a controlled ability. It wasn't something the council designed. It was something the beast had chosen to unleash for her. Smoke drifted from the shattered drones, falling like fading stars. Lyra looked at the beast with awe. "You saved me, again." Vrakshin lowered himself, placing his head near her, as if asking her to stay behind him. But now she stepped forward on her own. "You're not a monster," she whispered. "You're not what they say." The audience watched in silence. This was the moment that broke the ceremony. The moment that shattered years of fear, control, and lies. The moment a beast refused its chains and chose a human instead. And with that choice, everything in the galaxy began to change. Vrakshin stood tall in the center of the arena, wings half spread, his scales still glowing faintly from the burst of power he had used. The shattered drones lay scattered like broken stars around him. Smoke curled upward in thin blue lines. Every living soul in the chamber watched in stunned silence, unsure if they were witnessing a miracle or the beginning of disaster. Lyra stayed close to the beast, one hand resting against his leg. She still felt the faint vibration of energy in his body. It wasn't anger. It wasn't hunger. It was something new, something she never expected to feel from a creature that had been feared for generations. He had chosen to protect her. Guards slowly surrounded the arena, forming a tight circle. Their weapons hummed, ready to fire. But none dared to move. None forgot the memory of the drones exploding like sparks in a storm. If Vrakshin used that power again, the guards knew they would not survive. The council leader rose to his feet, his voice trembling with rage. "This ends now. That beast belongs to us. The girl has infected it with some kind of manipulation. Take them both." The guards hesitated again. Vrakshin lowered his body, positioning himself between Lyra and the armed soldiers. His wings wrapped slightly inward, creating a shelter for her. His golden eyes burned with warning. Lyra stepped beside his head, gently touching the warm scales. "He doesn't want to fight," she said softly. "He just wants to be free." Her voice carried across the arena, steady despite her fear. "He isn't a monster. You made him one." The leader scoffed. "He is a weapon. Nothing more." Vrakshin growled, but not with hatred. It was a sad sound, low and painful, like a memory he wished he could forget. Lyra felt that sadness like a pressure in her chest. She didn't know how their strange connection worked, but she understood the meaning clearly. The beast had never chosen anything before. Every moment of his life had been commanded, forced, controlled. But today he made his own choice. Vrakshin slowly leaned down and lowered one wing flat against the ground, forming a platform. Lyra blinked, confused. "You want me to climb?" she whispered. The beast nodded. Gasps spread through the arena. A human girl riding the council's strongest beast. No one had ever dared imagine such a thing. She hesitated. Not because she feared him, but because she understood what this meant. Once she climbed onto his back, there would be no going back. "Are you sure?" she asked quietly. Vrakshin exhaled in a deep, soft breath that washed over her like warm wind. She understood. He wanted her to trust him. He wanted her to leave this place with him. Lyra climbed onto his wing. The scales were rough but warm, pulsing faintly with hidden power. She walked slowly toward the center of his back, her heart racing. When she reached the top, Vrakshin lifted his wing again and stood tall. The guards panicked. "Stop him. Shoot before he escapes. Lock down the arena." The council leader screamed orders, but chaos had already taken hold. Vrakshin spread his wings wide. A powerful gust blew across the arena, knocking down several guards. Sand and dust swirled around them like a small storm. But before the beast could take flight, heavy metal shutters slammed down over the exits. Large energy barriers flickered to life, sealing the arena inside a glowing cage. Lyra felt the beast's muscles tense beneath her. "They're trying to trap us," she whispered. Vrakshin roared, not in anger but in determination. His wings shook with pure power. But the energy barrier ahead of them hummed loudly, glowing brighter. Lyra placed both hands flat on his scales. "You can do this. I'm with you." The beast crouched low. Every muscle in his body gathered strength. His tail curled. His wings folded tight for a single moment. Then, he launched forward. The entire arena shook as Vrakshin charged the barrier. The glowing wall crackled with blinding blue light. It was strong, built to contain even him. The impact sent a burst of energy through the room, knocking guards off their feet. But Vrakshin did not fall. He pushed harder, claws digging into the sand. Sparks burst around him. The barrier flickered, weakened. Lyra held onto his scales, pressing herself close so she wouldn't fall. With a final, thunderous roar, the barrier shattered. The explosion of light was so bright that the entire chamber went silent for several breaths. When the glow faded, Vrakshin stood on the other side, free. And Lyra sat on his back, gripping tightly, her heart pounding. The guards stared in disbelief. The council leader sank back in his seat, pale and shaking. A girl had done what no weapon, no soldier, no creature had ever done. She had given the beast courage to break his chains. Vrakshin spread his wings wide, the sunlight from the open sky shining down on them. Lyra felt a rush of wind, a feeling of freedom she had never known. He looked up at the sky as if seeing it for the first time. Then, slowly he lifted off the ground. The crowd watched in complete silence as the giant dragon beast rose higher and higher, carrying the small human girl who had given him hope. The beast had chosen a human. And now, together, they were beyond anyone's control. Vrakshin flew higher and higher until the arena, the city, and the entire council tower became small shapes far below. The wind rushed past Lyra's face, cold and sharp, but she felt no fear. Sitting on the beast's back felt strangely natural, as if she belonged there. Vrakshin's wings beat with powerful, steady movements, carrying them far from the place where he had been trapped for so long. When they finally reached the clouds, Vrakshin slowed his flight. He glided through the sky, almost gently, giving Lyra time to breathe. She placed her hand on his warm scales. "We're free," she whispered. Vrakshin made a soft sound, almost like a sigh of relief. But Lyra could feel it, he was tired. Not just tired from breaking through the barrier, but tired from years of living as a weapon. They flew toward the mountains outside the city, landing on a tall cliff that overlooked the forests below. The land was quiet, untouched, peaceful. Vrakshin folded his wings and rested his body on the ground, breathing slowly. Lyra slid down his side and sat beside him. "You don't have to run anymore," she said softly. The beast turned his head toward her, golden eyes glowing in the fading light. She felt another wave of emotion through their strange connection, relief but also fear. He wasn't afraid of her. He was afraid of what the council would do next. Lyra nodded. "They will come after us. But you're not alone anymore." Far away, alarms echoed across the sky. Ships began to rise from the city, lights flashing. The council wasted no time. They wanted their weapon back. Lyra looked up at the approaching ships. "It's starting," she whispered. Vrakshin growled softly and stood, his wings unfolding again. He was ready to protect her, even if it meant facing an entire fleet. But Lyra stepped in front of him. "No," she said. "Not this time. You don't have to fight them alone." She turned toward the sky and raised her hands, signaling. Vrakshin stared in confusion. He didn't understand what she planned. Moments later, a loud hum filled the air. But it wasn't from the council ships. It came from the opposite side of the sky. Human ships, small, fast and ready for battle, burst through the clouds. Lyra's people had seen the arena broadcast. They had seen her standing beside Vrakshin. And they had seen the beast break free of the council's control. The humans didn't attack Vrakshin. They formed a protective line around the cliff. Lyra smiled. "See? You're not the only one with friends now." The council ships arrived seconds later. They stopped, unsure of what to do. Human commander voices echoed across channels. "Stand down, council. The girl and the creature are under our protection." The council leader shouted back, furious. "That beast belongs to us. It is dangerous." Lyra stepped to the very edge of the cliff, her voice steady. "He is dangerous only because you hurt him. He was never the monster, you were." Her words were broadcast everywhere. To the council. To the humans. To every species watching. And then something unexpected happened. People began to speak. Crowds in the city shouted against the council's cruelty. Species who once feared Vrakshin now questioned everything. The broadcast from the arena had shown the truth. The beast refused to kill her. He protected her. Slowly, the council ships lowered their weapons. They had lost control, not just of their creature but of their power. Vrakshin gently nudged Lyra's shoulder with his snout. She turned and smiled. "You're free now," she said. "Really free." For the first time in his life, Vrakshin lifted his head high, not in anger, not in fear, but in pride. Humans and aliens alike began to gather on the ground below the cliff. No one ran. No one screamed. They watched with awe as the giant dragon beast stood beside the girl he had chosen. Some approached slowly. Vrakshin watched them carefully, but Lyra placed a hand on his scales. "It's okay," she whispered. "They're friends." The beast relaxed. A brave child stepped forward, holding out a small glowing stone. It was a symbol of peace among several alien species. Vrakshin lowered his head. The child placed the stone on his nose without fear. The moment was simple but powerful. A child trusted the beast. The beast accepted the child. And the entire world saw it. Lyra looked around her, feeling the weight of the moment. Everything changed, because of you, she whispered to Vrakshin. But the beast gently touched her shoulder with the side of his head. Lyra understood. No, she said softly. Everything changed because of us. The sky glowed orange as the sun set behind the mountains. Humans and aliens stood together for the first time in years. The Council's power broke that day, not through war but through the bond between a small human girl and a giant beast who learned to feel again. Vrakshin spread his wings wide and Lyra climbed onto his back. Together they rose into the sky, symbols of hope, freedom and a future where fear no longer ruled. The bond between them did not just save one life. It changed two worlds forever.